Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. Hello, interwebs! I hope you're all doing well. I am your short-handed host, Jesse Gender, and I am joined as always by...
It's Vera. I hope folks watching the video enjoy the contrast of me looking this good and being in my damn bathrobe, because that's just what this day has been.
For the listeners' edification, Vera was did a video about J.K. Rowling in the Epstein files today, so that's a fun video. Great video, by the way.
Thank you. But yeah, I had to put my face on for that, but afterwards I'm just casual shit while I power edit through this, because I shot it and edited it in the same day.
I was gonna say, you got through that real quick, so
I was fueled by frustration and hyperfocus.
I mean, I sometimes have that too. Like, I did this past weekend, I did a video on why I was so frustrated with some of the discourse around Star Trek Starfleet Academy from non-shithead grifters. From other folks who I generally respect as video essayists, but was getting frustrated with some of the way they were talking about it. And like I made that video at like 8 in the morning because I woke up at 7, and was just like, I kept thinking about it. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go to bed until I get this out of my brain, am I? And so I just got up and shot it at 8 in the morning, which is why if you watch the video, my voice is super fried because I just woke up.
I mean, like, I don't get moving at 8 o'clock in the morning, but like that was basically my day. It was a case of realizing I can't just have this eating away at my brain for the next week, getting more infuriated as well. Like, I don't have to be coy about it because the videos will have been out by the time anybody sees this. Like, I was so frustrated by the misinformation that was being spread around based off of misunderstandings, massive assumptions, and just bad readings of what incredibly limited and small and just no depth to it stuff was actually in there. And I'm like, it's gonna drive me fucking crazy if I don't say something and put it out there, because then I can move on and do other shit.
Yeah, no, that's my thing. Sometimes it just there's things my brain hyperfixates on. Welcome to being on the spectrum, where it's just like I just lay in bed and I'm like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to deal with this. But if I don't, I'm just gonna toss and turn anyway, so might as well just do it.
Yeah, like that was basically my entire process for the first 2 videos I did on gaming when that shit broke. So
yep, yeah, fun. Lovely having a brain that hyperfixates and then having an ability to express it. So sometimes you just gotta fucking do it. The pain of being a YouTuber at some points, you know, the weird pains of it, you know.
I'll still take this over the office job, but God damn it, man.
I know. So I was just like, I'll do it. I always think of that Thanos moment of like, fine, I'll do it myself moment. Like, sorry, fine, I'll do it myself. All right. No one else is gonna talk about it. Damn it. How are you doing? How was the rest of your week? The con.
Yes, so I need to finish packing, and I'm moderating a panel, so I need to be sure I have notes together for that. Yeah, I'm moderating a panel on diversity on the show. So I've never moderated a con panel before.
Oh, it's fun.
I am mildly panicking because I'm used to just hearing a question and just rambling my shit, which is not that far from what I do normally. So like actually having to guide a conversation, I'm like, oh, well, boy, it feels like one of those moments where, wait, if I'm not driving and you're not driving.
Yeah, no, it's moderating can be fun. I've been moderator for a few panels, and I've had a good panel and I've had bad panels. Like, good panels are great because then you just like, I ask a question and then people just go, and then you just kind of sit back and just listen to smart people, but you get credit for having done some good work. So that's always
fingers
fun.
Crossed.
And then I've moderated panels where it is very clear that the people, because usually when I moderate panels, I wasn't the one who organized it. It's someone else who sort of asked me to moderate.
Yeah.
And I've had ones where like the people who are brought on, I'm like, oh, you all don't have thoughts. And so I am going to have to talk way more than I intended to.
That shouldn't be the case because like the panels are pulled together based off of people attendees applying to be on them and like saying why
Mhm.
they're interested in these and ranking what ones they want to be on. So that the panels at Gallifrey one, that aren't like specific panels that are going to fix people like it's not going to be an open forum for the discussion panel on what's Big Finish going to do. Like, no, that's just the Big Finish people going to do that.
Yeah.
But the ones like this that are the general fandom discussion, the organizers are pretty good at pulling together good panels for these things.
Yeah, moderating is such an interesting skill. I won't say. I think I might have told you this, but I won't say the names of the people involved because they're actual big names. I don't want my friend to get in trouble. But what I will, just to put it vague, there was a panel thing that I was watching, and the moderator was not good at his job at all, and I could tell that my friend, who is the one of the panelists, she is used to being moderator for things, and she's a really damn good moderator. And so I saw her, I was there watching, and I saw her numerous times being like, she would get tossed a question, she would like answer it quickly, and then like try to throw it to somebody else to like make sure that they get to talk because basically doing a better moderator job for the moderator. And I saw the moderator person getting frustrated knowing that she was better and then started getting hostile to her in there. And I just
Uh,
afterwards went up to her afterwards and I'm like, you did great. You were not bad at all. What I need you to learn though, and like I tell her this because I'm telling this to myself as well, because I do the same thing. I was like, you are very competent and you want to do the things at a certain point. Like this is like you're a panelist. If the moderator's being shit, like just own your, because all the other people on there, all men by the way, all the other men on there are owning their space and just taking the time, and then you are, when it comes to you, you're like making sure everyone else gets attention. At a certain point, it's not your job. Own your space and let them like fuck it up. You know what I mean?
yeah, like I know it's a hard thing when you know that you could help and do it better, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you need to just let people fall on their fucking face.
Yeah, it's like just own your, just like you are there to show off how smart you are, and like you are very smart. Own being smart and let the other person fall in the face, because I went on stage, it's like everyone could see you were more competent, and that's good to see. But at a certain point, it's like I could see you weren't getting the chance to say your points because you were so graciously saying your point really quickly and then tossing to someone else. So
Yeah.
yeah, being a good moderator is just it's a skill. So, um, but speaking of this, this is a bad transition. I just wanted to share something that's actually relevant to the podcast we were on.
Oh shit.
That we're on this past weekend with a friend of mine. They did there was a charity reading of some Twilight Zone episodes here in uh LA, with a bunch of actors, sci-fi actors. And it was really yeah, I forgot what my rap name.
So like, yeah,
It's like
this tiny podunk
LA.
town that no one can remember the name of. What is
My
it?
brain
Oh,
just like,
LA.
yeah, my brain just froze on it. But it was actually really cool. It was like I said, it was charity, so like all the money went to charity. And they did Monsters I Do on Maple Street, and also I forget the name of it. It's the one with like the little kid who can like change everything, and everyone that's scared of the kid.
Yeah.
Forget the name.
Oh shit. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, it's very good. And they had a bunch of sci-fi actors in it. So they had Todd Stashwick from Star Trek Picard, a few other Picard Star Trek actors were in there. Sean Gunn was there as well, which was very fun. Sean Gunn was wearing the most like he was wearing the most cozy dad outfit I've ever seen. Like it was just like a cardigan and like a button up. It was like just cozy dad vibes from Sean Gunn. Economos, the guy who plays
Oh
Economos,
yeah, yeah.
was there as well. He was great. But also they had Rekha Sharma was there, she played the little kid. So Rekha Sharma plays Tori from Battlestar Galactica. And she was great as the little evil devil kid. She's so Rekha Sharma. She'll get more in season 4 on Galactica, and you'll see her. She is an actress who like she never gets the spotlight enough, and she's always really good at what she does. She's in Discovery as well, and she has like a cool bit part in Discovery, but she gets killed rather quick. And I'm like, damn, I
Hmm.
wish we got more of her because she's great. And just seeing her do that was really fun. And then also, Michael Trucco, I think is how you say his name, was there, and he's the guy who plays Anders from Battlestar Galactica, and he was a lot of he played one of the people on Maple Street, one of the reasonable guy from Maple Street, the one who was like, hey, maybe we should all calm ourselves down here. That he was that kind of guy.
God, if they were gonna do a charity reading of the one with the kid, they should have seen if Bill Mummy was available. I bet you he would have done
Oh
it.
yeah, that would have. Yeah, he probably would have. Honestly, yeah. Because is he the kid in that episode? I
He
think.
was the kid.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And he
Yeah.
also returned to the part because during the 80s version of Twilight Zone, there was a sequel episode, and he was in that too.
Oh, that's interesting. That's fun. Oh, that's cool. I should check that sequel up. I never watched the '80s one. I've
The
seen a
80s
lot.
one, the 80s one is better than it's given credit for.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not a good, no revived version of the Twilight Zone is as good as the original. Like,
Yeah.
know
Even
that going
The
in.
Jordan Peele one had some good episodes, but overall was kind of.
But like it is a lot better than people give it credit for. And there's even a few instances where they did remakes of older episodes. Again, usually not as good, but also often updated in interesting ways where I'm like, okay, this isn't better, but all right.
Yeah.
So no, it's fun. And then there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
And their opening sequence, honestly, I kind of love.
Hmm.
It's kind of messed up, but I kind of love it.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I'll have to check it out. It's been on my list to like, because I've never done a watch through of all of Twilight Zone. I've seen all of the Jordan Peele episodes. That's the only version of it that I've ever seen all the way through. But I've seen episodes, obviously, of the Twilight Zone. But I've never like sat and watched all of them. And I've been wanting to do that at some point. So at some point, I will probably.
Did
go
you ever
through.
get around to watching the one that I told you to?
No, probably not.
Okay, I'm gonna remind you. The Obsolete Man.
Mm-hmm.
Just find it and watch it.
Okay, I will.
I think like it is still. I haven't seen all of the original run, but that one's still my favorite episode
Mm-hmm.
of the ones that I've seen. It is one of Burgess Meredith's many appearances. He's phenomenal, and I think you in specific really should see this.
Okay, I will check it out. Well, when I get a chance to take a break from all my worries, I will give it a watch. But speaking of, we're talking about comments from the episode taking a break from all your worries? My worries. Your worries. Yes, taking a break from all your worries because of the Cheers reference. Speaking of which, according to where was it? Oh, I had it and then I lost it here. No, where'd it go? Yeah. Romler, he said, or they said, I actually don't know Romler. Romler, what are your pronouns? Let me know in the next comment. I addressed your comments enough that I should know your pronouns at this point. But you said the Cheers thing was going to go even further because the episode was referencing Cheers because Ron Moore wanted to get Ted Danson and Woody Harrelson as the bartenders. Sadly, they were both too busy. Oh, it could have been fun. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yep. Let's see. Let's see. There was another one here. Oh, S Jace Games. That's I think how you say that. I always figured the Roslyn yelling scene, so the scene where Roslyn's yelling at Baltar, was a new scene interrogation technique. As in she left and came back later that day or the next and started immediately yelling and to try and get Baltar off balance. But yeah, it's just shock factor and I've never appreciated it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I get what it's doing, and within the context of the episode, it's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just okay.
Yeah,
We're
just
doing this now, I guess.
Yeah. 255 AD says, I do like that the show is consistently having torture achieve nothing. Which is true. The show has never really shown that torture works at any point.
Yes. That is, yeah, actually, props for that.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, like, honestly, for as much crap as we give the show, that's worth highlighting, especially for when it was coming out. Because, like, this was the era of shit like 24, which was constantly just saying, like, oh, yeah, you rough somebody up enough, you will get the information you wanted. And to see something just flatly, repeatedly be like, nope, nothing good, nothing usable every time. Yeah, no, that's really relieving to see from that era.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, we rightfully give the show shit, but it did do some things right. Like during the new Capric arc, it did some good things about like depicting terrorism and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's it's got some good stuff. And then last one, Lank, a Dominions 959 says, I remember hearing that James Callis got an ear infection from shooting in the lake. So,
Ugh,
yeah, that
lovely.
sucks. Yeah.
See, I got one that you skipped over that I'm going to highlight.
Mm.
Now, this is just, I'm not going to pretend it's more than it is. This is just one comment as opposed to the freaking flood of shit I got over Blinded by the Light. But there was somebody on my side. Doc Widener commented, how can Jesse not know Andy Capp? Not even seeing them on the cheddar fries at the grocery?
Who's Andy Cap?
It was a reference I made during the episode. It's an old newspaper strip, and I said, "You don't even know what I'm talking about." You just said, "Nope."
Yep.
But is at this point is probably more famous as just the
Oh,
mascot on cheddar and hot fries.
yeah. Okay. No, looking at the picture, like I don't know the name Andy Cap, but I do recognize the guy. Like I recognize this dude. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you his name if I had heard it. It's like, it reminds me kind of the Noid. Remember the Noid?
I remember the Noid.
I loved the Noid when I was a kid because I had a video game of the Noid.
Yes, I remember the Noid video game being a thing that existed.
Yeah, I played the hell out of that, and I think it was NES, like an NES game.
It was because like everything had a game on the NES,
Yeah.
and a lot of things had games on the Super NES too. There were multiple Chester Cheetah and Cool Spot video games.
Oh, that's fun. There was a one of my favorite games. Okay, so
Chex Quest.
Chex Quest, yes, I played the crap out of that because two things. I wasn't allowed to play Doom. And
I
this
was
is
gonna say
before,
it was just a Doom mod.
yeah, I wasn't allowed to play Doom, and I was only allowed to install two games on my grandfather's computer because we'd go to my grandfather's house and I would be stuck there, and we're there for a weekend in because they're 3 hours away, so all I have is their computer, and and it was an old computer too, so I could only play like really low basic games. So it was Chex Quest, played the crap out of that, and Sonic Racing, which is a game that because I played it so much, I can beat that entire game from start to finish, unlock every character, get first in everything in 30 minutes. So, yeah. I played it too much. So that was a day in the life of me as a kid. And speaking of
Oh.
which,
Oh.
we're going to be talking about the episode A Day in the Life of Battlestar Galactica. That was a decent transition. I'm proud of myself there. Though to be fair, taking a break from all your worries and A Day in the Life are pretty easy things to transition to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it a little easy. Anyways, let us get into our recap. We start off the episode where we see Adama is sort of in a cabin by a lake. Sort of, and we will see this is sort of his mind palace flashback setting we'll see throughout the episode. So you already seem to have thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
All right, interesting. I just love when I come into episodes like, I think this episode's all right, and then I just start describing it, and I see your face, and you have issues, and I'm like, all right, we'll get into it. I mean, I have issues with this episode, but we'll get there when we get there. We see Adama wakes up in his bed, and there's a woman next to him, who will come to know is his dead wife. Because Ty comes in shortly thereafter. He looks at the bed, and I will say it was not entirely clear that because
it was super unclear. My first note is just who the fuck was that and what just happened?
Yeah.
So because there's a very clear break because you have Adama in his mind cabin and but then there's a knock on the door and he wakes up and he's in the bed in his quarters. Cool. He gets up and looks over, and there's this woman whose face is half hidden behind a pillow. I knew it wasn't Rosalind because this woman was blonde, but other than that, I'm like, who the fuck is that? And Adama goes, and there's even a little time jump in the editing, and he goes and opens the door, and Ty comes in and looks at the bed, and there isn't the woman there, but there was also plenty of time for her to hide. In theory, if there was actually meant to be someone physically there. So this opening scene I didn't clock what the fuck was going on at
And
all.
my problem with it too, so there's that element of it. My problem too is the shot of Ty looking at the bed, like it's distant. It's from his perspective, but it's distant and not well lit. So I had to pause and be like, "Is there someone in the bed?" Like I couldn't see if like maybe it was just too dark for me to see. It was just the
Yeah.
direct whoever directed the shots was it was just not clear what they were trying to communicate very well.
Yeah, this opening scene it didn't start things off on a great foot.
It was just I just think it was badly directed. Like it's the idea of it is fine of like
The
oh she's not
concept
really yeah
is the
whatever.
concept
It's I've
is
seen it a billion times. Yeah.
the concept is what it is. The way it is shot and edited is needlessly confusing.
Yes. Regardless, we just to be clear about what is happening, Adama wakes up next to a woman who is just in his mind. She's not actually there. Ty comes in, does not see anybody there. And he says to Adama, "Happy birthday, Bill," which I just noted. What a weird thing to say. To be like, yeah, I know it's your anniversary with for your dead wife. Like, it just was an odd way to say it.
I was about to correct you because you said birthday.
Oh, did I say birthday? I said happy anniversary is what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Because
Happy
that's
anniversary.
It's not that weird to tell somebody who you know it's their birthday, happy birthday.
Sorry, I
It
misspoke.
is weird. Honestly, I find it mildly weird to know your friends' anniversaries off the top of your head in the first place, though I say that as someone who cannot remember dates for shit.
Neither
So,
yeah.
but like, regardless of even if knowing that information is normal, just walking in and happy anniversary for you and your dead wife being one of the first things you say to someone in the morning, that's weird.
Yeah, very weird. Even with I mean the assumption that I get is Ty knows this is a rough day for Adama, like and is
Yeah.
aware of that. But even with that assumption, which is the only way that this makes any sense, it's still a weird thing to say as like I'm your friend and I'm aware that this is a rough day for you, so I'm just gonna go happy anniversary. Like what a weird, what a weird way to acknowledge that. I guess is the best way to put it. It
Well,
wouldn't
I
be
mean,
like, hey, it wouldn't be. I know that Ty is not exactly the most emotionally vulnerable, but something more along the lines of like, hey, I know it's a rough day for you, Bill. Like something like that. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, it's the info dump way of saying it is what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it really is. So yeah, terrible first scene. But then we have the start. We have cut to the chief, kind of cutting through a crowded Galactica and going back home. And there's some tension with Callie because he basically volunteered them to take both of them to take the place of some deckhands who had a call out of work. And Callie is frustrated because they don't get a lot of time with their kid, Nikki. And she even says like the daycare workers get to see more of Nikki than we do. And you know, Chief is like, this is just the way it's got to be, and I'll take him to daycare. So like, there's just a bit of tension between the fact that you know Callie wants her and the Chief to be able to have more time with the kid, and Chief seems to be like, well, we gotta scrub up our hands and get to work, and I'm not going to give us any. He'll even say this later. I'm not going to give us any special treatment because of it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, we cut back to Ty and Adama. We see Adama's having flashbacks to his dead wife because you know he's a lead character in a show, so he's got to have a dead wife.
Naturally. I mean, like that's not new information.
No.
We've known that like they were already separated and that she died during the destruction of
Yes.
Caprica Classic.
Yes.
So like it's not like they're just dumping a tragic backstory on us, but they are just kind of deciding, you know what, we haven't milked this yet.
Yeah, we'll do this backstory. But yeah, Ty basically sort of tells Adama, you know, fleet's quiet, you know, there's nothing really crazy going on today. So, you know, and he offers to take the first watch. He's like, I'll take first watch. But Adama says like, nope, it's just another day. I'm gonna do first watch. So again, it's Ty's kind of way of offering to be like, you know, I understand it's a rough day for you. Like he doesn't say that as much, but it's his dude way of doing that.
Yep.
So, but then we hear Adama's wife's voice responding to this, like, "Oh, just another day." And this is something only Adama hears. Maybe I should have married him instead of you. So we get the awareness that the dead wife flashback is kind of to a degree pulling a head six, which is she is commentating on the current situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And this is why I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. How many goddamn head characters are we going to do in this fucking show?
mm-hmm.
Head six, I'm not gonna say it was the most original thing in the world, but like it was a selling point basically from the beginning. Um, I even let Head Baltar slide because I kind of liked the narrative symmetry between Baltar having a head six and Caprica six having a head Baltar. This has no relation. We're just doing it again. And yes, I am aware that there's the small tweaks, like the fact that he's not ever actively talking to her. He never like we'll see him respond to her like in scene, but it's also very clear he's not actually saying anything out loud. He's not actually in real life reaching out to touch someone who isn't there the way that we know both Caprica and Baltar do. That is not enough of a tweak to make this a different thing. It is still fundamentally treated the exact same way. It's not special anymore. You've run it into the fucking ground. And weird comparison, but it annoys me for the exact same reason that when Doctor Who did a second by generation annoyed me. I'm like, this was a neat idea. You did it as many times as it worked, and then you did it more. Fucking stop it.
So, devil's advocate.
Naturally.
I I I am of two minds of it because I actually think the tweaking of it and how it works here, it just functionally, actually works for me, specifically because it differentiates it and makes the way that we see it creates a contrast between how we see Head Baltar and Head Six, which is they seemingly, in the way that we've seen them function, they are physically like we see them interacting in the world in some level, not being seen by everybody else, but being seen by the characters that can see them. And they seem to be able to have some level of physical, like even just a few episodes ago, Head Six pushing the bed that leads to Baltar like trying to die by suicide by hanging himself. Now, we can still interpret that as Baltar having done it himself and it just being a hallucination that he's doing to justify in his head. However, it is something to say there is something different about these two things. Maybe I'm giving a little bit away of the game, I guess, but like there's something distinct about these two things versus like the way in which Adama's does, because she never appears physically in the world. He never responds to her physically in the world, and she only ever appears in the Mind Palace. And he will hear her voice, but it is setting a clear distinction. Now, again, I am probably giving away too much of the game, but I do think that it's an interesting contrast.
The contrast is a distinction without a difference, as far as I am concerned. Like it's funny.
Again, maybe it's because I know the show.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might have actually tipped your hand rather severely there.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, but I realized it as I was doing it.
If this distinction is as important, it like lands as well for you as it does, then clearly there's something there. But let's set that aside for a minute because I'm not going to start speculating right now. But yeah, you did absolutely tip your hand. But like the thing is, it's ironic that not that long ago at time of recording, I put in my video about plot versus themes because you are making a plot mechanics argument for my problem with the repeated thematics. Because at this point, from my perspective, as someone who doesn't know enough to know how this is fundamentally different from the others, I'm left with presentation and theming, and the presentation is tweaked slightly for the exact same thematic shit that I've already fucking seen.
I mean, you could even thematically do it in terms of like No, never mind. I'm gonna make that argument. No.
I was real curious how deep you were gonna dig this fucking hole.
Let me put it this way. I
How
think
how how much of the spoiler bit is gonna be you berating yourself now?
yeah, it's gonna be a little if you have a masochistic kink, that'll be good for your spoiler minute. But yes, listeners will know how much I tip my hand or not. But I will say, as someone who has seen the show, it does actually really work for me on a rewatch, and I do not mind it at like on this rewatch. I did not mind it and actually appreciated it. And I do not I don't dislike it. Actually, it did not bother me much at all. But I can understand your frustration.
Okay.
um Anyways, we then cut into the mind palace, the mind cabin or whatever you want to call it that Adama is in, and he's talking to what I didn't even catch her name off the top. I think they do say it, but I didn't.
They do. I didn't write it down.
She's
It,
just
it,
until
it, it
unless
was it was a hyphenated name. It was a two-part name.
yeah unless until
It was like something Anne.
I don't know. I don't. I'm trying to
I
find it if I put in my notes or not. I think I just have dead wife in my notes. So listeners, I am sorry. I'm going to call her dead wife.
Carol Ann.
Carol Ann. Carol Ann. Okay, good. Thank you.
It is actually technically all one word. It's not hyphenated, but
Carol
in
Ann.
my brain it was.
Yeah. Reminds me of like Owl Bear. You know, it's like to make it sci-fi or fantasy, we just combine two things. It's Carol Ann. No offense to any Carol Anns that may
I was
exist
gonna
out
say
there.
that is an actual
Is it?
name. You
Is
know
it?
that, right?
Is it Carol Ann?
Yeah.
I've never. Oh, I guess I don't. I guess there are some. Yeah, okay, I guess it is a name. My apologies to any Carol Anns in the audience. You are not a made-up sci-fi name, unless you wish to be. If you wish to be have a made-up, I mean, I know enough trans people who have picked made-up fun sci-fi names that like
If
you
you
go for
choose to identify your
it.
name, Carol Ann, as a fun sci-fi name, we respect it.
Anyways, uh, in the Mind Palace, she's talking to Carol Ann, and she says we had some good times, but more bad times. But you keep bringing me back this one day, year after year. Why? He's like, Dama's like, I don't know, and she says, neither do I. Essentially.
Mhm.
Um, we then cut to back into his room, his quarters. A private comes in and sort of gives him his breakfast, and tells him his name is Jaffe. So that is one of the private's name.
Well, I mean, it's worth noting that the guy doesn't just come in and like announce
Yes,
his
I
name.
am
He
Jaffe.
you could see that Adama is in his saying thank you wants to say the guy's name and isn't
Mhm.
pulling up, and the guy like just offers it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, we then see the chief go into is in the sort of the deckhand bathroom. There's a bunch of deckhands getting ready, and Callie's in there too. And he basically tells Callie, "Oh, it was the first time Nikki didn't cry when he was dropped off at daycare." And we're gonna be heading to airlock 12 to fix the scrubber. Essentially, they're going to one of the airlocks that needs fixing.
Yep.
Um,
And like this'll get brought up a few times since over the course of the episode, but I do actually kind of like that they are basically still trying to play catch up from damage suffered when the Cylons showed up again, and then the evacuation of New Caprica,
mhm,
because between limited resources and not being able to just stop and stay put,
mhm.
like repairs are done on a what is the most pressing thing right now basis. And there's
Yes.
a ton of stuff that if this wasn't the only battle star, they would have stuck this thing in dry dock and like worked to hell on it for like a month.
Yes, I like that it's just like you're seeing if you watch the show and when we see like the exteriors of the Galactica throughout the show, you see that it's got like scars and battle damage all on it that sticks around. Like it's definitely not nice and shiny like the Pegasus was.
Yeah.
And even as it was at the start of the series. So I like that sticks around, and that is very clearly an influence of Ronald D. Moore's frustration with Star Trek Voyager. So that is very clearly an evocation of that, and I like it. It's really good. It's a nice thing. Um, but it is like showcasing like how the wear and tear of the ship is definitely wearing down on it. We then cut to airlock 12, and it's Chief Callie. And finally, I think I finally learned the name of the girl who like showed up. Like she was on New Caprica, part of the Resistance leadership, and like showed up as part of like the like courts. The I forget what they're the tribunals that they put
The
together.
circle, or is
Yeah,
that,
whatever it
yeah,
was.
something like that.
The secret tribunals that they were doing. Her name is Celix. So we finally get her name.
Now, see, that I think you could call a bullshit sci-fi name.
Yeah, yeah. I like Celix. It's like Neelix, but with an S. I wonder if that's also a Voyager pull, for Voyager reference for Ronald D. Moore. That'd be kind of funny. Because Neelix was a character on Voyager. Um,
But yeah, it's not nice to finally have a goddamn name for this woman.
yeah, I'm sure they probably said it or she was credited as it at some point, but this is the first time I remember
I'm sure it
clocking it.
existed in the script.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we heard it.
Yeah, this is the first time I've at least clocked it. So, but yeah, Celix. And they basically go into this airlock, and it's kind of a mess. We kind of get the evocation that you were saying, like no one's really been in here to do any work in here in a while. Like Celix even finds in the control room for it the like a year old like lunch that someone left there, which I thought
Yeah.
was a fun little detail. Um, and so they're starting to fix stuff up, and basically Chief and Callie are kind of having an argument, and Celix is kind of trying to like, they're like, all right, I'm just, they're doing the thing. I'll just work in here.
I'll just pretend I can't hear every word of this.
Yeah. But yes, she's sort of saying like, it didn't have to be like, basically Callie's complaint is like, that didn't have to be me. Who did this, didn't have to be us. And Chief is like kind of arguing, is like, I'm not going to give a special treatment because you're my wife, and it has to be somebody, so might as well be us. And Nikki's like, I don't care. You can't pretend our lives are like they were before I knew Caprica. We're married. We have a son. And this, this is just a rough patch. And Chief sort of argues like, well, this is just a rough patch that we're going through right now. And she sort of argues, well, what if it's rough patch is all we have? We swore we'd take care of Nikki. And then at that point in the argument, the airlock closes on them, and they sort of like, well, and they're sort of locked in the airlock, and like, what the hell is going on, Celix? What'd you do? And Celix like, no, we're losing air pressure, and we need to find out. You basically they can't reopen the door until they start losing. They fix the loss of air. There's a leak in there somewhere because it automatically shuts down when there's a leak.
Yeah.
And so the chief, like, and Callie go around, and they eventually do find it. It's like a small, tiny leak on a patch. There's presumably someone had come in there and patched up a hole a while ago, and now it's starting to leak a little bit.
Yeah. And I actually really I knew it was going to stay this way because like
Yeah, of course.
they're not going to set this up casually, but I actually did like how in this moment nobody's panicking. They're all just annoyed like, oh yeah, the damn thing closes. We just got to find it and do it. And like being so casual was something that theoretically could kill them. And like yeah, obviously it's going to get more serious later, but I don't know. I just kind of like there's something about a blue collar attitude towards a really big issue.
Yeah, it's like I may die here, but
yeah, that's
yeah,
like that's Scotty on a good day. I like that stuff.
What do you think about the sort of arguments between Nikki and the chief?
You mean Callie?
Oh, sorry, I was the other kid, Callie. And
you said that earlier too.
Yeah, sorry. Me and names deal with it. Yeah.
The argument that goes because he's a baby. Like, I don't like it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as like we're gonna find out a wrinkle in this like a little bit later from the chief, which it was a detail I kind of liked. But and it gave a little bit more context for what's going on in this scene, but like it's relationship drama because nobody can have a stable fucking relationship in this fucking show. So like I'm pretty neutral on it.
I will maybe it's because I'm damning with faint praise here. In fact, I am going to be damning with faint praise.
But I was gonna say if you're comparing it to Lee and D,
yes.
Sure, this is so much healthier.
Yeah.
That should not be your baseline.
That's my thing with this. Is like I guess there's just a part of me that's like, I appreciate this because this is depicted as like, yes, this is frustration. Like there is clearly some tension between these two, but it is not an unreasonable one, nor it's not like Callie's portrayed as the bitch wife who's complaining at home. And it's tension between the two of them, but it is understandable feelings that they're both having of like Chief kind of wants to just keep on keeping on, and Callie is sort of like, you can't keep just doing the same patterns that we've been doing before, and Chief kind of doesn't want to look at it. But it's also like he's got to also point to is like, we're not in New Caprica anymore. So it's like it's a reasonable sort of tension and understandable tension for both of them, and it's tension, but it's not coming out in a super toxic or unhealthy way. Which
Yeah,
again,
it is.
damning with faint praise comparing to D and Lee, but
Look,
still.
I mean, that's kind of why I'm neutral on it. Like, look, it is a reasonable point of pressure on their relationship that both of them handle relatively reasonably as people. Yay, I guess.
Yeah. Yay! Showing somewhat healthy relationship dynamics. Huzzah!
Yeah, I mean, like, if I wasn't compared, like, that, I am neutral on this because, like, it's not bad, but I don't care because I don't like the relationship bullshit. But yes, coming off of D and Lee's shit, yes, I'm sure it feels like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I didn't I thought it was I personally thought it was fine, and I kind of enjoyed it as a considering this is a day in the life episode. It felt like a good day in the life look into their relationship. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, we then come back to Adama in his dream palace. Um, and he's like trying to remember the names of different crews.
Yeah,
Um,
he's like looking in the koi pond and like saying like
Jaffe
this,
gives me coffee, and yeah.
yeah, Jaffe gives me coffee and this person hands me the reports from the night before and this da, da, da.
Yeah, so it's like part of a clear device that something that he regularly does to try to remember names. And the wife says, you never change, do you? And I know you're meeting Laura. She's got a thing for bad boys. Um, and there's this interesting point because she's sort of making like, she basically says like, you try to remember all of the names. You have this like expectation of yourself. And he sort of says something about Laura Roslyn in a similar way of like, oh, she's got a lot of important responsibilities and such. And Carol Ann says, since you created a godlike facade for yourself, you create one for her, and it's excuse to keep your distance. Which I think is an interesting, astute sort of observation of like Adama's like sense of presence. Like he tries to create this like, I am the authoritative Adama admiral, and sort of like putting himself up on this like position that he needs to uphold of like, I need to know all their names, I need to know all who they are, and then sort of putting that same level of like responsibility onto Roslyn as like, oh, she's also this very important figure who needs to like have this holier than that was the wrong way to put it, but like needs to keep a level of like I have to hold respect for my office sort of thing. Oh, I just thought it was an interesting psychological look in there. Yeah.
Okay.
I you're very down on this episode. I find this interesting. I like some of this character work, but all right.
I look, I did not feel like I gained much particular insight into Adama as a character. I personally don't feel that this episode told me anything I didn't already know, or at least could have easily guessed at. So, and maybe it would have landed better if it wasn't such a repetition of a device that has been at the core of this show for a while. And again, I understand that you won't compare it because you know what the fuck's going on, but as someone who doesn't, like, it is just another argue with a person in your head scene in a show that has had argue with a person in your head scenes for its entire run. And it's not like, first of all, it already kind of makes Head Six and Head Baltar less special just by doing this at all. Even though, again, I understand it's not
No.
literally the same thing.
I have a response to this, but I
But
want to keep going.
it's not even that it just makes that less, but it's also like I've seen this show do this a lot. Tacking it onto another character who I haven't seen you do it with before doesn't reinvigorate the idea.
I I do not disagree. Here's where I'll make a distinction about the show makes in this episode, and I do think it's a clear one that I think makes it work even without me knowing what's going on. Both Head Boltar, and especially Head Six, make clear allusions to the argument that they continually say, "I am actually not your psychology." Like whether or not we believe that is an open question. But like from episode one, Head Six says I was a chip in your brain, and now she says I am an angel of God. Whether or not you
Yeah.
believe that, own thing. But they make clear saying I am not just in your head. Whereas it's very clear here, right from part one, that this is a thing that the Dama has been doing his whole life, or at least since she has died in the past, or like at least since she died in Caprica Classic, possibly since they divorced.
I get the implication it's since they divorced.
Yes, and and also it's very clear that she is 100% a manifestation of his psychology, and never does the show try to play coy about like if that's the case or not. Like it is very clear that that is the case. In which case, since we can acknowledge that, it does make it work very well for me of like, okay, this is clearly, definitively what this is, as opposed to the other one, which who the hell knows. Um, and I think because of that, I can accept like this is an interesting internal dialogue that he is having with himself. And I get you're saying like it doesn't lead anywhere that I couldn't have guessed, but I do think and as we'll see at certain points here, I do really like the sense of getting a look behind the guy who constantly puts up this very strong, like, I'm not going to have any emotions because I am big, strong leader man wall up, and getting at least a sense of like how he views that image that he has put upon himself and towards others. And certainly it's not something I couldn't have guessed that he has this sense of this feeling, but it is interesting to see a character such as Adama, who is a very typical like closed off man that we see in so many things, have a moment of like actually seeing the vulnerability behind that facade, which I kind of liked.
There was literally one tweak to this that would have made all the difference and made me not kind of throw my hands up over it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have her talk to him directly. What I would do personally, if for no other reason than to fucking distinguish it from the other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is just have it be memories.
Mm-hmm.
She's not responding to anything that just happened now.
Mm-hmm.
But she's on his mind because it's his anniversary, and he is remembering things that did happen, are actual legit past memories, but what is happening in like now triggers him to remember certain things that she said to him. So like with the memory device, rather than him literally doing it with this crew and like naming Jaffe, you could have still had a memory of him like going through this memory exercise, making it clear something he's always done. And it's a memory of her coming in and giving him crap for it in the exact same way. If you just tweak it to remove the active interaction with the idea that she is responding to what he's doing right now, I would like this probably 5 times more.
That's absolutely fair. To be fair, again, I still kind of like it, but I can see that being a thing that would also just as well have worked and helped fix your problems. I think with it, I think it's the best way to put it.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Because like, would that have made it a mind-blowing episode? No,
No,
but
and
it would have distinguished it from the other shit going on.
yeah, but I mean, like for me, this isn't. I mean, the episode's called "A Day in Life." I don't think it's meant to be a mind-blowing episode. I think it's meant to be just a mundane kind of character rumination. Could it have been better?
I
Sure.
think the mundanity would have been better emphasized by giving us flashbacks to actual days in his life as opposed to someone berating him in his head.
Sure. I don't disagree. I'm just saying what I'm arguing for is less that element of it and more the I like what insight this gives us into Adama. It's not revelatory about him, but it is an interesting peek into his psychology that I particularly like. Now, we can quibble about how it's delivered, but I'm just arguing more upon the things that it is saying about him that I enjoyed.
Okay.
So I'm just saying you're wrong and your tastes in media are terrible.
I know.
Is what I'm basically arguing. Anyways, we then go to the scene where Laura and Adama are having their meeting. Laura says to Adama she's been going stir crazy, which is why she wanted to have the meeting on the Galactica. Adama says, "Oh, we call this OBE, overcome by events." This is what like all the folks on ships used to say. And he says you're always welcome here, and it's very clear that he enjoys their interactions together. Um, and Tori, she says Tori actually drew up an agenda. We're talking about Baltar, and John was like, "Can we just give him back to the Cylons?" And Rosalind's like, "I wish we could, but yeah, it seems from what we know from Ed 6, they won't take him back. So we have to give him a trial." But the questions are like, but under what law? Which do we have a jury? Do we do a tribunal? We don't even have a comprehensive law library right now, and we
I
don't
mean,
even have a ton of legal talent.
one of the things that she mentions that I kind of appreciate is like she flat out says like, do we do it under, this set of laws, that one, like, and I think it's come up before, but making it clear that each colony that before the Cylons destroyed everything, not only had their own culture, they had their own legal systems, and not just like different laws, different processes for how they go about enforcing those laws. So one can imagine what a cobbled together mess it will be to try and be like, we're going to come up with a new legal system, and we can't just port one over because then everyone else is going to be pissed that we're not using theirs.
Yes, exactly. And it'd be like, oh, Caprica, it's elitist to use Caprican or what? Yeah, that sort of thing. So
yeah, like it again, it is a complication that I find interesting, and the kind of thing that I wouldn't expect to get much notice otherwise. I don't know how much they'll dive into it beyond, like, obviously the law stuff is going to get a lot of notice later on. How much this particular clash is going to come up, I don't know. I'm hoping it does, because I find it interesting. It's almost more interesting to see forced compromises in what the legal process should be than in what, to get an outcome based off a rigid framework that everyone has already agreed on is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna be curious to see where this goes.
Yeah. Now, like I said, this element of the latter half of the season, I think, does some of the more interesting stuff of the show, the Baltar trial. Still, we're about to meet one of my favorite characters, guest characters. He's in it for the Baltar stuff, but he's great. Anyways,
so which leads me to assume it's just going to be whoever Baltar's lawyer is.
I'm not saying shit.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so Adama sort of reminds us that his father was an attorney, but they didn't get along very well. A character we will see in Caprica. Very excited about that. But anyways, she also points out, like, trying to get a room of legal scholars is hurting cats. So she says we need to set up a chairman of a committee. And she offers up Lee, like maybe like grandfather, like grandson, essentially is her argument. And Don was like, well, he's never really shown.
I mean, you say that's her argument. I'm not sure she's really saying that fully
No.
sincerely. She kind of has a smirk. I just don't want people left with an impression that she actually made an argument that flimsy.
No. She does a different one later on, but yeah, Adama sort of says, well, he's never really shown any interest in law. And she says, well, you can use the lawyers to parse the law, but we need someone who knows right from wrong. That's Lee, is her words. I'm like, sure, Rosalind.
You haven't been keeping up with your boy, have you?
Yeah, maybe you could make that argument with season 1 Lee. Season 3 Lee, I don't fucking know.
Season 1 Lee, maybe season 2 Lee at a stretch. Season 3 Lee, no.
God, no.
No. Good grief.
Yeah.
This fucking show, man.
It's
glazing the moral superiority of Lee fucking Adama. Bite me. Jesus.
Uh, anyways, so yeah, she sort of offers that, and Dama says she'll talk to him. And Rosin says she's gonna stay on the ship for the rest of the day, and she's gonna go to the gym. And Dama says, "Oh well, it's on its best day. It smells like the inside of a shoe." So it's a nice little camaraderie thing there, joke there. Bonding joke, I guess is the best way to put it.
I was gonna
Um,
say camaraderie, odd choice of words given where this shit goes, but
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways,
Thanks, bro.
shut up. Shut the fuck up. Anyways, we then go back to the leak. And we just see them they're working on patching the leak, and there's still some tension between him and Callie. Like Callie sort of says, I heard you the first time. So there's sort of there's working trying to fix the leak, and there's some tension still. We then have Adama walking through the corridors, and you see some of his crew laughing, and his dead wife, Caroline, says in his head, is you're getting better at dealing with the hushes and the sidelong glances. I don't ever recall being able to intimidate you. I knew you long before you were the admiral, before you were Bill, when you were the father who left the husband who wasn't there. So again, a peek into a couple things with that, which is Adama. The Adama is self-conscious of the way he projects an image of intimidation to other people, and he's self-aware of it. And the wife sort of like poking at his sense of like, oh, this is all a facade, and I'm a shitty dad and a shitty husband, and like his sense of self-worth that kind of tied up.
Well, yeah, she's vocalizing his self-doubt.
Yes. We then cut into a scene with the Viper pilots getting a briefing from Lee. There's a little joke about Hot Dog having an STD rash, um, which was
Yeah, that
whatever.
was that was odd.
It's whatever.
I
Bros
guess
writing bros on TV. You know.
I guess he hasn't done anything in a while, so they're like, we'll make him the STD guy, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, anyways, Lee comes in and he kind of gives this rah, rah, rah speech about like, I've been hearing you counting numbers. Like, yeah, 47, 48, is as high as you can count. But like, the only number you need to know is one. One is the only number you need to remember. One pilot to let his guard down and missed radius and then the silencer on top of us. So he gives that sort of like,
Yeah, and like for clarity for folks, the reason he's like mentioning 47, 48, that's how many days it's been since they have
contact.
encountered the Cylons.
Yes. Adama comes in and watches this. And he sort of talks to his wife in his mind palace of like, oh, Lee's like both of us. He's proud, stubborn. Well, the wife says he's proud, stubborn, and angry. And Adama says, well, he's coming into his own. And she says, have you told him? And he goes, he knows. And she says, knows what? That the Admiral will give him a good performance review, or that his father loves him? Don't tell me that the Admiral facade extends to Lee too. So
That is probably the best line she gets in this whole shtick.
No, I thought
That
that was good.
Yeah, that one of he knows that he'll get a good review or that his dad loves him. Like that's good stuff.
Yeah, I like that. We then get a quick little moment where Starbuck sticks around afterwards before Adama sort of walks in the room after Lee dismisses everybody. And Starbuck says like, "Oh yeah, my only problem with you is you should have given that speech, a week ago." But I heard it better.
Well, because it's worth noting he didn't just give a rah-rah speech. He set a whole bunch of expectations. I expect you to all run these drills, get this score, and you're going to keep doing it until you get it. So like,
yes,
he's kind of cracking down on laziness feels like an overstatement, but he's making sure to avoid complacency.
Yes, yes. And yeah, so Starbucks like, yeah, you should have done this a week ago, but it was a good thing that you did it. But I heard that speech better when the old man said it. And referring to Adama, and Lee says, "Oh well, if you're gonna steal from the best." So we get the sense of like, Lee has respect for his dad. But then Adama does come in at that point. And tells and Starbuck heads out. Adama basically tells him like, "Oh, Raza wants you to sign you to the committee." And he asks, "Are you interested?" "No, I'm more surprised. Why did she say?" She said she needs someone she can trust, which is you. Heaven knows why. That's me saying that, not Adama.
she says that's you because she hasn't been paying attention to what you've been up to.
Yeah, she hasn't hung around season 3, Lee. Anyways, and yeah, Adama sort of says, "Well, I remember when you were younger, you were fascinated with your grandfather's law books." And Lee says, "Oh, I thought I was being sly, sneaking into his office. There was a time when I was considered being a lawyer before I joined the service." And Adama's like, "I never knew that." And Lee says, "Well, it's probably during one of my hate my dad phases." And he then turns down the position. He's like, "I'm gonna be too busy." Essentially, the CAG rule is 24/7. I won't have time for that.
Yep.
So, uh, yeah.
Nope.
Oh, I
That,
thought you were gonna say. We then cut back to the patch leak. They have patched it, and they go to test and see if it's gonna be if they've done enough to equalize the pressure to open up the doors. And oh no, the leak gets much worse because of this. So
what a shock.
what a shock. Um, we then cut to after commercial break, Adama going down to where the chief is, and they see if it's gone. As the chief says, it's gone full blown foobar, and they're losing a lot of air, and it's getting colder in there. So
Mm-hmm.
we then cut to Lee, Ty, and Adama having a briefing about what they could possibly do. And Adama's like, "Well, we have manual overrides, right?" And Lee's like, "Not taking enough damage from New Caprica," kind of referring to what you were saying before. Is like everything, like none of this stuff is working right now.
Yeah,
Um,
and like it hasn't been the high priority stuff, so no one's gotten to it.
And this is where Ty says, like, we'd need 6 weeks in dry dock just to fix the ship, if we could have had that. But basically, they said they have about a half hour or less of air. They sort of have another idea of like maybe if we blow up the glass
Well,
between.
even before that, like they'll run out of air in half an hour, and those are blast doors, so it would take us an hour to cut through them.
Yes, and then we could try blowing up the glass, but the glass is strong enough that anything we could use to blow it up would also kill Callie and Tyrell at the same time. So, Idama's like, "I need another plan." Um, and so then we cut to them down in the Raptor Bay, and basically their plan is, then we can see them testing this. They have about 18 minutes left of like, basically they're just going to try and catch them in a Raptor. They're going to expose them to open space and try and catch them as they're sort of they're shot out the airlock.
Yeah.
So, which is always fun. Um, we then cut back to Callie and the chief, and they're sort of putting on breathers, and as ice beginning to form around them, and it's like it's getting colder in there. Um, and Adama sort of tells them like, "We're gonna try and take you out from the front door." And they're like, "It's not a docking collar. We're not gonna be able to dock and like pressurize and try and get you out." It's like, "Nope, we're just gonna try and catch you. You're gonna be exposed to full vacuum." Um, and Adama basically tries to do and I do like this as how it bounces off the other stuff because it is kind of subtle. Is he's doing the whole like, "You can do this, like I believe in you, like you're not you can tell me, like we'll talk later, get ready." And I do like this because it's not drawn attention to. We don't have his like wife in his head saying anything about this at this. But it is a sort of point of like he is playing the confident guy of like, this will be fine, you're gonna get through it, and it plays off of that like sense of confidence that he portrays to other people. I like that as a subtle thing, just to note
I
it
do like
across.
that, but what I like more about it is in a minute,
Mm-hmm.
um
Yes, we're gonna get there.
Callie's
Yeah.
Callie's gonna have this whole thing about what happens to Nikki, and Tyrrell's all, well, Lee and D, and my immediate thought was like, oh dear God, no. um and Callie says no, no pilots, because we don't want to risk him losing, parental figures again. And she names like some civilians who they know, and she says to Adama, if anything happens to us. And the moment that I like
Mm-hmm.
is that Adama, despite having been all reassuring and like, you can do this, when she says, be sure that this happens, if we don't make it, he just says, I'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he doesn't do that. You don't have to worry about that because he's just like straight up. He's not gonna sugarcoat. He's like, if that's what happens, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, which
So
is.
I like that, in that, as much as he leaned into like the confident guy who's saying like, this will work, he is not so buried in that he can't have a moment where he's just like, you need the reassurance that this will be done. If you die, I will give you that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, which is nice. It's well done. And it nicely kind of resolves their. It nicely resolves their tension in a roundabout way with between Callie and the Chief too, and it'll get resolved even more clearly later on. But
Yeah.
it is a nice.
Well, because the other thing is, there's a moment where the chief says to her, I I wanted us to work together so it would feel like the old times. Like I put you on rotation with me on
Mm-hmm.
purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So that it could feel like how things were. I didn't even think about Nikki. I've just missed, us being with you, which the show doesn't have the time to get into that, but that like can absolutely be a thing that strains a marriage when a kid is born, is that what you and your partner have isn't what it used to be, if only for the presence of the kid. So like him just thinking, I want it to feel like it used to, and not even taking into consideration, what that would mean for, less time with Nikki or anything else, just trying to find what he feels like is missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which again I really liked. I thought that was
Yeah. I
good.
don't like that he did it, but I like that he fessed up to it. And I think that's a real human reason for him to have been booking them together for work like this.
Yeah, no, I thought it was well done. Um, healthy, unhealthy relationship depictions. As opposed to unhealthy, unhealthy relationship depictions with Lee and G. uh,
Look, maybe he'll get vaguely interesting with the legal stuff, but if he doesn't, I still vote we kill him.
I mean, shove him out of an airlock. It's fine. Um, yeah. Anyways, we then basically they do the thing. We do the thing that we know they are going to do. They get shot out the airlock. They get captured by the raptor. They don't die. And they're in rough condition. Um, and then we cut to a scene between Lee and Adama. Lee goes in to see Adama and basically is like to tell them like they're in rough state, but they're alive. But Doc Kyle's still evaluating their condition. And he basically goes like basically says like tell us something's going on. Tell me what's going on with you. And Adama sort of hands him a picture of his wedding, with a very young picture of photoshopped Edward James Olmos.
This is a hell of a lot better than that like miniseries Photoshop job.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
So much
Um.
better. And like I don't think we've really noted he kicked off this day taking this picture out, and
Yes.
there will be times either when he's in his quarters or in the mind palace where he's looking at that when like she comes in over his shoulder. So
Mm-hmm.
like him having this picture out is kind of his direct connection
Yes.
to Carol Ann.
Yes. And it's implied that he only takes his picture out once a year, sort of thing. So.
Yeah.
Um.
Well, it's later on, it's basically flat out stated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Leah said, I totally gotten, and Dama says, seems foolish how it ended up. It still means something to me, and I know we never talked about the divorce. Dama says to Lee. And he basically says, I'm glad your mother gave you a home and stability. And Lee sort of stands up at this, is like, Dad, I know you want to believe that, and Dama can clearly see this has affected Lee. And he's like, if you have something to say it, and it's not in an aggressive way. And he just sort of says, like, you have just like, hey, just say it. And Lee says, like, we had four walls, but stability, what mom was like. She had mood swings, and, she cared deeply for you. Adama says she cared deeply for you and your brother. And she's like, no, she would lose control. Like, she would apologize and say she would make things better, but then she would drink again, and all of her good intentions went out the window, and then she would start apologizing. And then eventually the apologies would stop. Like, she didn't even do that. And this sort of is cross-cut with Adama in his mind palace, seeing his wife, Carol Ann, like getting drunk and getting kind of aggressive. And she's like yelling at him, like, it's always easiest, whatever was easiest for the great Adama. And so it's kind of an interesting sort of thing of like, oh, this is the side of her that he has intentionally tried to not directly remember.
Yeah, except again, I feel like the presentation muddles it because she's been not this degree of aggressive, but she's been kind of dickish to him because she's been voicing his insecurities straight to his face.
Mm-hmm.
That this does not feel as revelatory as it's probably meant to. Again, like at this point in my head, I'm just rewriting this episode. If this were a case of we were just getting flashbacks,
Mm-hmm.
I think what could have really made this land is if the flashbacks, even the ones where she's like questioning what he's doing and questioning what he's doing, were just more gentle and not feeling like trying to directly poke him with stuff, like him remembering times like that. If it leans into the idea of like, okay, maybe this wasn't perfect, but we had some good times, and then after Lee bringing this up, the kinds of stuff he doesn't want to remember starts to leak through, and those are the memories he starts seeing. I feel like that would have landed more because the way she has been talking to him, like now in real time,
Mm-hmm.
is not as distant from what Lee is describing as I feel like it should be.
I will agree and disagree. Well, even getting to this, there's a part of me that's even swinging back to even liking that it's not the flashbacks. Because I like that there's an element that she is kind of playing a little bit his own throughout the rest of this episode, voicing his own self doubt. And there is a sense of Adama is viewing her through the lens of how he failed her. And she is continually voicing this sense of like, oh, you were a bad husband. You were a bad father. You were the one who continually fucked up. It's all your fault. And it's like the way, and you get the sense of like, this is how he views himself. And this is how he has internalized a lot of this. And then this revelation kind of happens. And what I like about it is it shows, oh, certainly he probably did fuck up in some ways, but that doesn't mean that like she didn't put that on, like she didn't partially put that on him, and that she wasn't the one who like made him feel this way for things that like were not necessarily as awful as he has been made to feel about it because of how she treated him and belittled him and ruined his self-worth. And
Yeah,
I also, well, I also want to be clear, I don't know, like there is an element of this that easily falls into like, oh, the bitch ex-wife sort of thing that we've seen in other elements of the show. But I don't know, there's something that I think works for me in this, in that like he there's an element of him like trying to constantly see her perspective and her point of view and putting it all on him, and trying to ignore the fact that like she was imperfect too, and just being like, I also fucked up. Yeah.
but nothing about her behavior changes. She keeps voicing his insecurities prior to this, in this scene, and in the scenes following. So nothing about how he's experiencing her communicating with him changes about the scene. You're talking about this idea of he starts to see her in the way that like he doesn't want to, but that has no practical outcome of that. Nothing changes.
But I think it does change if we see the context of how it is being presented. In the other scenes, it is presented as like, oh, they had this idyllic, not idyllic, but like the house in which they lived in and the way it's shot sort of presents this like this was a nice place, albeit but for his failures as a husband, and maybe that's what she was resentful. But then we get this scene and it evokes like a sense of like emotional abuse on her part, because she's like yelling at him and drinking, and like there's an element of like, oh, just recontextualizing it within that framework adds an element of like, oh, there's a toxic thing happening here that I think does showcase that it's like, oh, he has internalized a lot of this, but it is also like something that she was doing toxically. I don't know. I think it worked.
I
It evokes it for me in a way that it works.
I agree with you with what it is trying to do. I disagree that it does it.
I mean that is absolutely fair. I think it worked for me, especially because we get sort of the clear eyes of Lee kind of expressing this with like his voicing it. It him sort of saying like, I know you want to see her that way, but this is how she actually was. And we see Adama sort of like going like, yes, maybe I have sort of put that veneer on her, and like a lot of the things I put on myself were things that she was just saying toxically. And not to say that he just was a perfect husband or anything, but like I don't know, there's a level of it that I think, I don't know, it just worked. It worked for me. I don't know. So
I would love to rewrite this episode so it actually does the things that you see in
yeah,
it.
sure, maybe, yeah, maybe.
That's what I would do if I could, because
Fair.
I get what you see in it. I disagree that it actually pulled it off. I feel like you are seeing its intentions and taking that into heavier account than what it actually accomplished.
Maybe I think it. I maybe I
I
think it
mean,
does.
look,
It does work effectively for me. I don't know.
everyone's going to disagree with me in the comments anyways. They always fucking do. So
No. I'm actually. I will be honest. I make jokes about getting the comments that say Vera's wrong. Everybody. I will actually. I am actually very curious, listeners. Please put in the comments your perspective on the episode because I am actually curious because like it works for me. And maybe you are right, Vera. Maybe I am putting more weight on the intention than what it actually portrays. But I don't know. At least from my perspective, I think it does communicate that, and it resonated with me in what it was trying to communicate. But then again, everyone's level of like, is this effective? Is this communicating it? Is different and open to interpretation. So I am earnestly curious what people's perspectives are on how effective it was.
I'm glad you liked it.
Fair enough. Yeah, so listeners, get in the comments and give us your earnest opinions, and they better agree with me. Uh, Love you, Vera.
Love you too, you bitch.
Anyways, all that's going on. We kind of talked a lot about a lot of scenes. I can kind of go for the rest of the scene, but basically, this is what it's being communicated. And she sort of says like things like they needed you, they were our children, they needed a father. You pride yourself on being a leader of men, making the hard call when the hardest decision in your life came, you blew it. And if you were wrong about this, maybe you've been wrong since day one. That's why you keep calling me back here every year. So you're worried about like, oh, did I fuck up? And sort of that sense of self-doubt that he has. And then Lee sort of says, well, Adama tells Lee to stop. And Lee sort of says like, and Adama says, she was your mother, Lee. I loved her. And Apollo says, I believe you. I just don't think she ever loved you. So I again, I think what makes, I'll just make this last point. I think what makes it work for me is the visualization contrast with also Lee's reframing. I think the fact that he reframes it makes all of that work for me. But again, listeners, you have your own opinions. I'm earnestly curious your thoughts. Anyways, we then see Celix bringing Nikki to see the chief, who is still recovering but at least up and about. And he sort of says, it's going to be a minute before Callie is 100%. And he takes Nikki over to see Callie within the decompression chamber as she sort of sleeps, and he sort of wakes her up, and he sort of says, hey, look who's here. And we sort of see, you get the sense that like the chief is valuing the time with Nikki between the two of them now.
Yes.
Which I thought was a nice way to evoke that.
Yeah. And I kind of like that it is resolved without a conversation between the two of them. It's just resolved by having him realize what he was messing up and just demonstrably trying to do better.
Yeah. Adama's watching this. We then cut to Lee is going home to D. And they see that Adama has sent to Lee a bunch of his grandfather's law books for that day. And he wrote in it for that day when we all have the time. So it's sort of like here giving you this, which I also thought was very sweet. And
again, hopefully this will be a good storyline for Lee, because goddamn, it is really bizarre to me that as a character, his best stuff was in episodes that otherwise weren't especially good.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have a vivid memory of really liking the Baltar trial stuff, and I remember it's very well regarded by the fandom. We'll see how well those nostalgia goggles actually
I was
how they work when they come off.
You've said that about a fair bit of this show.
Yeah, we'll see how well that works when the nostalgia goggles come off, but to my memory, it's good. Anyways, we have last scene with Roslyn and Adama. Roslyn gives Adama a book called Blood Runs at Midnight, and she's like, don't worry about the title. It's actually a good mystery. I was like, oh, that's such a camp title. Blood runs
Yeah,
at midnight.
that is total, reading the bubble bath kind of
Yeah.
schlock nonsense.
Yeah, yeah. But she says it's a gift, Tori found it. And Dama sort of asks, do you ever think about those times on New Caprica? And she's like, I try to think of the good times. And he sort of remembers there's one where you were wearing a red dress and thinking of building a cabin. Do you think we could have made a go of it? Do you think you would have settled? And she sort of asked him, she sort of asked him, like, do you think you would have settled there? And I think she says, it's hypothetical, isn't it? I think that's her who says that. I didn't write it in my notes. But it isn't tell, and she says it isn't tell. Oh, he says it's hypothetical. All this is hypothetical, isn't it? And she says it isn't till it isn't. And then she laughs at that. And Adama says, "Well, it's good to see you laugh. We've been at war for so long, we forgot what we're fighting for: raising kids in peace, living life as people." Um, and she sort of says the Silence hadn't come back. Would you have settled on New Caprica? She asked him, and he said, "But they did." So he kind of avoids the question and says, "We have certain responsibilities." And she says, "Yes, we do, sir. And I'll be back in a few days, and we can talk about that night." And then she turns around as she's heading out. She says, "The answer is yes. I absolutely would have built the cabin."
Yeah.
So I also really liked that scene.
It's sweet. Like I'm sorry, the show's not going to turn me around on its romantic elements. Like I just the show has botched too much of this for too long that having a sweet thing go and like it again, also, I haven't forgotten the random fucking kiss that was unjustified as shit. So like between all that, the best you're gonna get out of me is, yeah, that's fine. And like I understand that it is better than fine. It is actually better than I'm making it out. It just has no impact on me because of all the issues I have with this show. This is an aspect that I would just remove with a rusty hook from the entire fucking show.
I agree, and
Like this,
I
their dynamic, especially at this point, is way better than you'll get the impression hearing me talk about it. But this is just where I'm at, man.
That's absolutely fair, and I appreciate where you're at. I will voice the other side of it.
Go for it. Like I won't even argue with you on this. This is adorable. I don't care. That's a me problem. I know that.
Yeah, it's very funny because yeah, I really like the scene. Let me be the one who isn't jaded and cynical and bitter.
Somebody needs to not be. Fuck,
yeah,
man.
I will just articulate it for listeners who may be on my side. I really like it. I think it does really resolve well the idea of Adama still having that sort of like, I need to project this air of being a god, or god is the wrong word, but that's the word as dead wife would use. But this feeling of like self-sufficiency and confidence and kind of isolating himself in like, I am strong man. And he sort of puts that on her as well, and she sort of is breaking through that in the sense of like, no, I understand that we have the responsibilities, but I would have liked that. I would have liked to have had a relationship with you there, and maybe we can't do it now, but there is a part of me that acknowledges that I would have liked that in a way that Adama wants to but can't fully do because of the armor he has up as a strong military dude. And I like that as a good resolution to all of this member and stuff with his wife, that he is opening himself up to being vulnerable with someone else little by little. And the way that I will like it is like, yes, it's not revelatory about Adama, but it is inching him forward. And I think it is nice to maybe we're living in the world of all the toxic masculinity just on full display fucking everywhere. It is nice to see a character who has very stoic masculinity and is not
A piece of
emotionally
shit.
no, who is not emotionally communicative and emotion. I don't want to say not emotionally mature, but not emotionally vulnerable in any way. We're seeing a character arc where he is slowly inched forward into being less of a stoic masculine dude. And I like seeing a story of that. I think that is good representation for a character like that, and it is appreciated more now in the world of all the toxic masculinity bullshit that we're dealing with. And I will also say too, like, I, without going into too much on it, I have a friend of mine who is dealing with medical stuff, but he is also the stoic masculine dude. And I have been dealing with him and other folks dealing with him, having to be like, it is okay to admit that you are sick, you know, and having and seeing how hard that is for someone like him to do. It is nice to see a character like Adama representing somewhat something similar in fiction, in a not necessarily always healthy way, but in a way that is showcasing an arc for that kind of person. Um,
Okay.
so I will say, and maybe this element of it is part of why it's resonating so well with me, because I have dealt with a person like this who I love very much, who is dealing with this, that I see this person in, and I liked it. So that is why it resonated with me and worked very well for me. So yeah. We end out the episode with Adama drinking alone and sort of like doing, not like in a depressing way, but in a like the end of a long day, and I'm gonna do one last little reminiscence here. Yeah, exactly as you have there. Um, and dead wife says, "Promise you won't take me out again." And he's like, he said, "It's easier to hate you, but that would be a lie. We had something, didn't we?" And she said, "We did have something." And they kiss, and he says, "See you next year." And again, for me, it works in the sense of like him acknowledging like, yeah, this was toxic at times, it was fucked up at times, and it's caused a lot of psychological bullshit on my end of things right now, but I can't fully be like, this was fully an awful thing. And I do like that it ends on a level of like acknowledging the shittiness, especially as we start off the episode where they're saying, well, we had more bad times. And him sort of being like, yeah, we did have bad times, but there's an element of this that I do appreciate and is part of my history, and he is not going to just ignore it. And I liked that ending. So
Yeah.
so yeah, cool. All right. I mean, I'm not gonna do a spoiler minute on this. Listeners already know what I will say and berate myself for. You know, if you know, you know. So I will just end on, and we kind of already acknowledged this, but what do you think of the episode?
Look, it's fine. Like it's fine. It's better than I took from it. It's just the stuff that it's leaning on is aspects that I either think the show should be doing better or should stop doing altogether.
Mm-hmm,
Um
mm-hmm.
so, it it it's a decently prepared spread of food I don't like.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I will do the glass half full version of it, which is the fact that I wish this show had been doing stuff like, if we're gonna do relationship stuff, doing more like this, because this I actually like front to back for me personally. I think that this is a healthy depiction of unhealthy relationships on both the Chief's part and Adama's part. And I wish we got more representation of this level than the whole like whatever the fuck's going on with Starbuck, Lee, and D, like the like drama, capital D drama, nonsense, toxic bullshit we're getting there. And I wish we got
Yeah.
more of this, because if we got more of this, I would appreciate that element of the show a hell of a lot more. And
I
I,
mean, like that I can agree with that at least. Like if
mm,
stuff like this had been more the standard and been introduced early, then maybe I would view the love triangle bullshit and or the casual misogyny that is orbited
mm,
around Baltar, maybe I would view those as the aberrations
mm-hmm,
as opposed to the fact that I view those as the norm. And this is the aberration.
mm-hmm.
Like, is it a welcome aberration? Sure. But it doesn't reset my expectations that I think shit's gonna be handled better going forward.
Nor should you.
Right.
But
Boy, was I hoping in the back of my head that I was gonna say that and you were gonna go, well, maybe you should reset your expectations. No, I am not that fucking lucky.
let me put it this way. There is maybe. Let me put it this way. All I will say is maybe I don't remember. There is one storyline in particular in season 4 that I won't say out loud, but I just remember being like, that is bullshit, and I hate it. So let me put it this way. There's one choice in the future that I know will piss me off rewatching it. Um, and I know you will fucking hate. So I don't want to not prepare you for a thing that you're going to hate in the future. But then again, I don't remember the nitty gritty of all the stuff that gets there. So,
Is it weird that I'm kind of looking forward to losing my shit?
oh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I know the scene. I don't want to. If I had a spoiler minute, I would share that now. Um, but can you take off your headphones for just a second? I'm gonna just say it so listeners will know. So Vera does not have her headphones on, so listeners will know. I'm talking about the scene where Tori kills Callie in season 4. That's all I want to say. You're good. You can put your headphones back on, Vera. All right. Yeah. So that's what I'm referring to, listeners. But I know once we get to that scene, Vera's gonna flip shit. So we'll get there. We'll get there. Anyways, anything else on this episode, Vera?
Not really.
Yeah. I'll end on just saying I end up being rather positive on this episode. I actually like this episode quite a bit. Maybe it's just because of my own nostalgia, like knowing what comes up, and also that it resonates with me personally and things that I'm dealing with. But I really like the episode. So
Like I also think, if I'm being honest, you just have more goodwill for the show than I do at this
that's
point.
fair. That's fair.
And like there are some times that I come in and I'm like, I am going to make a conscious effort to try and not have my current overall opinion of the show drag down my viewing of this specific episode. There are times that I try and counteract that, but then there's times like today where I'm fucking exhausted and I don't have the energy to try and be nice.
You try to be nice?
Sometimes, oddly. I know you've never noticed.
Well, I appreciate the effort. No, I'm kidding. You are very nice many times, and I adore you for it. All right then. With all that said, stuff time.
Stuff. Well, you can find my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks. Patreon is what pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. The main thing that funds is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel. Now, assuming that I haven't reordered stuff in my schedule, then the most recent video that should have come out is the ranking of every episode of Game Changer that I've talked about for a little bit. Nowhere nearly as long as Jesse has talked about the freaking Ferengi video, but I have been talking about that for a little bit. It got moved around because slightly more topical stuff came up. That, unless something changed, should be the most recent one out at the time that this goes out. There's also the Break Room of Geeks, where I talk about whatever I have watched, listened to, read, or played lately. I have no idea what will have gone up on there, but give it a look. It's casual and just me yapping, which if you're watching or listening to this, theoretically you enjoy that. Or you just like Jesse so much that you put up with me. Either way. You can also find Council of Geeks on Blue Sky. I post sporadically. That's about it for the geeky stuff. There is, of course, also the spicy stuff.
Also the spicy stuff.
And for that, you can look for Vera Wild. Wild is spelled WYLDE. And you can find increasingly spicy content.
Increasingly spicy.
On YouTube.
Fast and loose with YouTube's policy, aren't we, on this one?
I know where the frame cuts off.
Well, you can find me at Jesse Gender on YouTube, where I do video essay style of stuff. The Ferengi video may or may not be out. Deal with it when it comes out. You'll get it sometime. Then I have Jesse Dinner After Dark, where I do news, reviews, reactions. I am reviewing Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which I still love. The hate is very forced on it online. Not to say that you can't hate it. If you dislike Starfleet Academy, that is valid. That is fine. But the YouTube hate is toxic and bullshitty for most of it. So check out my reviews if you're looking for at least a fair and hopefully positive review. You can check me out on Nebula, which is the streaming service that houses my movie's identities. And I can't look at Vera because I will not get through this. Check that out. It also houses the show Subliminal. That'll have an episode that I directed coming out later this year. I am also on Patreon. That helps me pay my bills. I also have a new podcast called Genre Friction, which I do with my friend Spotted Giraffe, where we talk about more current science fiction in TV and movies. And that'll be on all the podcast feeds and on my channel, Jesse Gender After Dark. And then I'm also on social media on Instagram and maybe still Blue Sky. though for reasons I won't get into here, I'm at a point where I may just delete my Blue Sky altogether, so who the hell knows if I'm on there or not. So Instagram, I guess, is the one I have narrowed it down to at this point. Anything else of Vera?
Nah.
Alrighty, anything else? I just asked that. I am distracted by you being half naked, listeners. She is almost fully disrobed at this point. Quite literally. Yeah, let's just end the episode. I hope y'all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.
Love y'all.